Proceed.
Anybody have any questions? Fire away.
So you taking Sam?
Potentially. Oh, that's loud.
It's all because in many ways.
Is Zach Glad going one?
What's that?
Is Zach Glad going one?
No, but well, if wouldn't it be wouldn't one of the two Sams better fit this team's need?
We're taking the best player available.
What do you think is the most? And what do you think is the most, I guess, pressing need that this team has to fill regarding to
I don't know if I want to sit here this long. We have needs everywhere. I mean, when I talk to GMs or agents, more agents, their potential free agent list, they ask, "What are your needs?" And we have needs everywhere on this team and in Rochester. Probably goaltending is what I say is not a pressing need, but everywhere else is. We can use help throughout the lineup.
Tim, you ended the season with a realistic hope of having 3 first-round picks in this draft. It didn't work out that way circumstance-wise. Would you say one of your big priorities potentially is to try to get a second pick in the first round this year?
I have been trying hard to do that, and the people I've talked to haven't said no, but nobody's called back and said, "Yeah, let's do this deal." But I've got a lot of potential deals out there that have a first coming back involved, whether it's in the 20s or in the teens. But I just feel if I can get something in the 20s or teens, that maybe you can do something with that too. So I'm trying, but I guess we'll see come draft day if I have more than one.
Is Florida willing to move one? Would any chance get 1 and 2?
No, because he's willing to move one, I believe, but he doesn't want to move completely out of the draft. He wants to, if he's going to move it, I assume he's going to move down a couple spots. He likes somebody a little lower or maybe pick for need. But to move to 1 from 2 would be
I just meant if you could get back in the first, say you had an 11 pick, would you be willing to go down?
I have to get that pick first. So I don't. From talking to him, I don't think he would want to move that far back.
In a general sense, in terms of the rebuild of this team, the importance of this draft this year, Tim, in terms of that process?
I say it all. Every draft's important. This draft is obviously important, but next year's draft's important. The year after is important. You have to continuously stock your system. You can't miss in drafts. So if we become a Stanley Cup finalist or Stanley Cup contender and we're picking 28th in the draft, I expect to hit on our first round pick, and I expect him to be an asset down the road. But obviously, when you're picking as high as we are, I agree with you. It's important. They're all important. It's to your amateur staff. This is their big day from working hard all year. It's an important day every single year for those guys. I guess we can quantify the importance to this organization from one draft to the next. Next year we have 3 firsts. So I expect to get more players in next year's first, certainly, than this year's first. So next year's draft then to me is more important. But you have to hit. That's your job. You have to hit and you have to find players.
Again, in some ways, is this draft, though, perhaps somewhat more personally meaningful given the fact that your first rodeo, your first rodeo as the general manager, the one.
It's just business. It's not about me. It's about the Sabres. And it's just, when this draft is over, you know what I'm going to do. I'm going to come back here and we'll meet on the 2nd or 3rd and we'll talk about what went on in free agency, and the draft will be over. So it's not about me running it. That's not it at all. It's about me in the fact that I'm all in for Buffalo and I want success here, but it's just about the Sabres.
From a strategic standpoint, are you using the draft to gain assets and then possibly trade those players away to fill your needs, or is the draft used to fill your needs?
The draft is used to acquire assets that can either play here, or if you can draft a guy at 2 and trade him at training camp for a better player that's young and still fits the plan that you're trying to achieve, then that's what I would do, yes.
Would you take a guy 5
I would make a trade for a large contract to get a first round pick involved. Yes, I'm not. It's still a trade. I mean, every trade that every team makes, there's money. Money is a consideration. So I'm not gonna say that I would just make that trade to buy the guy out. If that happens, it happens. I may take a contract on to play here. It would depend on the player.
Tim, are you going forward in your mind that whether it's Florida or someone who trades in the number one, that Ekblad's probably going number one?
That's what I believe, yes. I believe that Ekblad is going to go 1, and then we pick who we have left, and the next guy on our list. If he doesn't go 1, I'd be surprised, I guess, but then I guess we'll cross that bridge when we come to it.
2 is a good spot for you then, given the fact that if you were at 1, you'd have quite a dilemma, given all your needs.
I would have more of a dilemma at 1 than I would do at 2, yes. Because there's one guy going off the board that I don't have to worry about. I like that.
But you see my point, that
yeah.
people say you can't draft a defenseman, but everybody also says that this guy might be the most NHL-ready guy.
The only difference, if that was my dilemma, then everybody would be calling me versus calling Dale for 1. So I guess if I wanted to draft for need, I'd be a little more in the driver's seat, and I personally would like that, but he's in the driver's seat now, and to win the lottery, to have teams calling me because you know that they badly want the defenseman, to see, I think it would have been interesting to see what we could have got if we decided we did want to move out of that spot.
So when you get past Ekblad and the 2 Sams, is there any drop-off at all, or is Draisaitl right up there with those 3?
He's right there. He's right there. There are there are guys that aren't being talked about, that are potentially part of that. I mean, it's a copycat league, so LA win the cup again, and they're the terminology, they're heavy, and you've got guys like Ritchie and Vertanen that are good players that are heavy. Teams are looking for heavy, so there are players there that down the road could. We know that 1 or 2 of them aren't going to have an impact in the National Hockey League. It's which 1 or 2. We hope we know which 1 or 2 it is, but those names are the names that are going to go. And I talk about second rounders that nobody talked about 8 years ago that have become great players. That's just the draft.
But at number 2, it's going to be Bennett, Reinhart, and Draisaitl. True.
Very good chance. Yeah, very good chance.
How does, with buying out or preparing to buy out Leino, how does the salary cap floor factor into your equation going into the draft and creating the next 2 years?
I hear about it all the time. It's a distraction. You get in the middle of a meeting and then somebody walks in the door and talks about the floor. It's easy to spend money. I don't like spending money, but it's easy to spend money. I guess I said yesterday, or when was the last interview I had?
Yesterday.
Yeah, okay. People want your money, so it's not hard to give away. It's just, are the right players or the guys that we like, are they going to approach us to take our money? If you're talking in Ville's instance, the alternative to buy him out and keep him on the cap is 6 years. That's not interesting to us. If our plan is to be a competitive team in after next year's draft, for an example, and when I say competitive, I want to be competitive this year. When I say that, I mean rise in the standings, be somebody that when we go into their rink, they don't think it's an easy 2 points, blah, blah, blah. 6 years down the road is not suitable to have that cap hit. And to keep him on the team, after we had our internal meetings and decided that, he didn't fit going forward, that was not an option either. So this was the only option, and I don't think that's going to affect our ability to get to the floor.
Well, floor talk is annoying.
Very annoying to me, yes.
Is it as daunting as it seems to people? That's why it keeps getting it seems like it's
I say no. So now, we get 10 days from season opener and I'm not there, then you guys can come back and say, why aren't you at the floor? But I don't foresee a huge problem in that. I mean, there may be little bumps in the road on the way there, but no, I don't foresee us not being able to get to the floor properly.
Isn't the problem, though, that guys may not want to take your money if they're thinking about trying to win immediately, and you may have to give a lot of money to guys who, frankly, aren't very good hockey players? Isn't that the issue?
That I would say that at the top of the free agent list, that's true. I expect that. But in saying that, I think there are players that are playing for other teams that may want to be moved. I think there are players that are hitting free agency at 27 or 28 years old that are late bloomers that feel they haven't got a proper chance where they've been. I mean, what's attractive to some players may not be attractive to other players. I think we're attractive to a certain type of player, and I don't think they necessarily all have to be bad players. I think they can be guys that are that need an opportunity, that certainly see opportunity here, and we're not allowed to talk to players yet, but I know that agents. I've had a lot of agents call and ask what our needs are, and when you get those calls, I assume that they have people in their stable that they feel this is the right spot. Or I don't think they're just calling all 30 GMs and asking that question. I think they look at your depth chart. I think they look at your needs. They look at opportunity, and they make calls. And I think, what's the date today?
The 19th.
I think on the 25th, when you're allowed to talk about players, that those same agents will call with specific names. And I think it'll be interesting.
The top of the draft looks to be heavy with the CHL and European players. What's your take, what's the scouting staff's take on college players and college commits?
Well, they're useful. You have them, if you draft them out of the USHL or Tier 2 in Canada and they're going to college, you basically own the rights for 4 years, which is a good thing. It's a longer development process versus a junior player, which is 2 years. If you look at our depth chart, we have more college players in our depth chart than we do junior players, which I'm not sure I like, but that's the way it is here. And the college players we have in our depth chart, I might leave a couple off, but you have Fashion, you have Comfort, you got guys like that we think are very good prospects.
As far as the strength in this year's crop, though, the first round guys, Sonny Milanos and the Alex Touches and those guys.
They're good players. They're on our radar. They're on our list high. And I guess if you read between the lines, those guys would be in play if maybe that's why we're trying to trade for another first-round pick.
Tim, there have been questions about the talent depth in this year's pool of picks. Do you find that some of that's a little bit overplayed, that there isn't a lot of talent out there after maybe the top 5 or 7?
No, I think there is. I think there's talent in every draft, and if you go back and do that exercise in every draft, you'll see that a certain guy was taken in the 4th round, the 5th round, the 6th round, and our job is to find those guys. So, to me, averages, all they do is it's the bottom of the barrel that affect the averages. So, I think there are good players in every draft that a good staff will find. Is this the strongest draft since I've been in hockey? No, it's not. It's not the weakest either, though.
What's your philosophy? Before you came, it was a long time.
Conservatism.
In between drafting Russians, and then they took Zadorov, they took Grigorenko, and the worry was you may not get them to come over here. Do you have that worry, or is that something?
Yeah, it's called the Russian factor, and they have an option that other players don't. So you have to be aware of that. You have to expect that if things don't go their way, they may go home. They have the option to play in the KHL. A Canadian kid from Sudbury, Ontario, who has to go to the minors because he's not ready. He may not like that, but he's going to do it. I'm not. We've seen players go back that we know are good NHL players, but for whatever reason, they've gone back there, and that's an option for them. It's not an option for a American. It's not an option for a Canadian.
Tim, are you interested in pursuing a long-term deal with NS, partly because you might like the player, partly because of your floor issue?
No, not the floor issue at all. I like the player. Short term or long term, I think the money's going to be, whether it's within $1 million or whatever. I don't think that affects our ability to get to the floor or helps us get to the floor. I just, I like his approach to the game. I like his compete level. I like his speed. There's a lot of things I like about him, and if we can do a long-term deal with him, then obviously the decision we've made is we'd go forward with him.
How busy would you like to be coming in, and how busy do you expect to start?
At the draft? It's going to be. I mean, if we don't make a move, you guys may not think we were busy. It'll be busy. It's going to be busy. Lots of calls, lots of talk. But if busy is defined by how many trades are going to be done, then that's yet to be determined.
What, given where this franchise is in the recruitment process, and this may prompt an obvious answer, so I apologize beforehand, but what would make you somewhat satisfied coming out of the draft? What would be the objective? What would make you happy coming out of the
The
draft?
perfect draft?
For you, well, as far as filling needs or
Our first pick is going to be what we consider a very good player. Use assets to get back into the first round and pick a player that we feel down the road is going to be a real Buffalo Sabres size, whatever it is, can play. Hit on one or two of your seconds and hit somewhere later in the draft. I would consider that a very good draft.
How many players in this draft do you think could be NHL ready next season?
Depends on who drafts them. That question is, I mean, Patrice Bergeron, the second round, made Boston right off the get-go. Did we think he was ready when we saw him play his last game in junior hockey in March? I can't imagine there's one scout that said that. So, I mean, 18-year-old kids mature at different times. The summer after their draft is huge. That's just a guessing game, I guess. So, but talent-wise, there are quite a few guys in this draft that can play in the National League right now. Are they going to put the time in this summer? Is the team going to give them the opportunity that drafts them? I don't know that answer.
There's a couple more, then we'll wrap up. So,
Any of your own free agents, your own UFAs,
Have I spoken to them?
or do you plan on?
I haven't thought about that. I said that the other day, and then I guess I was quoted as saying that I'm not bringing any of them back. That wasn't my. I'm not thinking about them today. There's other things to think about today. I will get to that down the road. So that decision has not been made. That's all.
Tim, a couple of quick non-draft things. What is the timetable for coaching staff, and what is Patrick Coletta's status at this point?
I talked to Teddy yesterday for a while. We compared names, guys that have called him, guys that have called me. So it's just he's talked to a lot of potential assistants in the last couple weeks. So it's just he'll talk to them. He'll tell me what he thinks of them, and then we have to come to his decision together on who the right guys are. So it's in the process. And Patrick Coletta is on the final year of a one-way NHL deal, so he starts in camp here as a Buffalo Sabre, and we'll see how he proceeds with that.
How's his health?
His health is good. He's been in here every day since operation, right?
since
Early
early,
operation,
yeah,
right?
early
So
in the winter.
he's been in every day rehabbing. He was in yesterday. I saw him again. He doesn't miss a morning here. He's in the gym working hard, and again, he's got a year left. I know there's whatever happened last year happened. I just expect him to come in here and act like a pro. And once we hit the ice, then I'll start evaluating him.
Any interest in Jason Spezza?
He belongs to Ottawa. I haven't heard from Ottawa. I hear he has a list, but I have no information on that.
Tim, you have 5 prospects named to the Lake Placid camp and possibly even more coming after the draft. What does that say about the organizational depth, the pipeline that you folks have?
We have a lot of Americans. No, it's great. I mean, 5 guys out of one organization invited to a World Junior Camp. I don't know if that's happened before. I'm proud of that, and I think a few of them have a legit shot to make that team. So you have to be an elite player at your age group to be involved in a camp like that, and I think it just shows that we do have some elite young players in our organization that we're looking. I wish I could speed it up. I wish it was 2 years down the road with a couple of them. It's not, so we're going to do the right things in development, and I got to believe that at least 2 of those guys are going to be good NHL players. So that's really positive for the organization.
John, you want to just finish up?
Is the entire Rochester staff back, coaching staff?
Today, yes. Things happen every day, right? I met with Chad yesterday. We had a great meeting. The staff is back today. That's not to say if Jacques Lemaire called tomorrow and said he'd love to be the 3rd assistant in Rochester that we wouldn't hire him, right? So, but the staff is back as is today, yes.
Connie included?
He wasn't a coach there last year.
Development coach for this title again?
Yeah, he I've offered him a job, so he's got to get back to me.
Along those lines, did Joe Sacco accept the reassignment, or is he going to be?
No, he's accepted it and excited. He's been in the building the last, I would say, 4 days, getting to understand our scouting program. He's been on the computer reading reports. I've given him our free agent list for July 1st, even though he didn't scout last year. I think as an assistant coach and a head coach the last few years that he has some insight on some of those, not every player on that list, but some players on that list. So he's excited and he's ready to go.
So his job is primarily pro personnel?
Pro scouting. Yep.
Okay. And Mike, I was wrong. You are right. It is Tuesday the 24th with the Hall of Fame. I got my dates screwed up next week. So thanks, everybody.
Ciao.
Thank you.